Hello and welcome to Be Here Now, the Peaceful Empowerment Works show. We are live on the newstreamingnetwork.com, home of goingboldmedia.com, goingsolomedia.com, and WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. I am your co-host, Judy Forder, and as you can see, if anybody is watching and not just listening, we are missing my co-host in peace, Miss Janiceleonard. She, unfortunately, in our pregame meeting, her internet went out. So she is driving around her town. She had internet set up in the church parking lot. And then right before we went live, we lost her again. So we're envisioning her frantically driving around, trying to get her internet to work so she can join us for the show today. Today, we're going to be talking about the bridge from shameful to shameless. And as you can see, the habit is we're going to be talking about, well, we are open to Janice popping on whenever she possibly can. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that she will be joining us soon. We will stay open to that and move forward. Move forward. Today's topic again, shameful to shameless. So we're just going to jump right in and get started with what's it mean to you? And the meme for the week is sometimes I feel like I should be contributing more to society. Then I remember fat bottom girls make the rockin' world go round, and I know I'm doing my part. Now, it was funny because my daughter always likes to check out the meme I picked for the week. And I said, you're probably not going to remember this, or you won't get the humor in this because you don't know the song. And when I read it to her, she was like, I can't believe you don't think I know that song. And then I remembered she knows the song because it was on Glee. If anybody remembers that TV show, she has a wide palette of musical taste because of that show. And I picked this meme because there was a time that I would not have found the humor in that meme. And to even admit that I can relate with that meme because, a fat bottomed girl is conditioned to feel shame for that fat bottom. And I read it. It made me laugh. And I wanted to use it because there's no shame having some junk in my trunk anymore. Used to be a problem, but not anymore. So I need a laugh track, something to something to keep me going. All right, so we're going to move on along to the good news story. And the good news story is a story that Janice picked. So to be completely honest with you, I watched the video. She has a little video clip that she wanted us to run. And I watched the video. It's about a blind horse that finds a guide donkey. So check this out for a sec.
Petey is always there to be her guiding star. He just braids up a storm and she follows his sound.
So she got this story from a site called Cuddle Buddies. And from what I can understand and what I remember is Petey is this donkey that befriended this blind horse. And every morning, Petey helps the horse get out to the field by making the neighing sound. It sounds like they have a line of communication all their own. And he helps guide the horse into the field and get the horse anywhere the horse needs to be. And they're the best of friends. So it's one of those things where, we have an awful lot to learn from our animal communities. I saw a meme earlier this week that said, God doesn't allow our pets to speak to us, didn't give our pets the ability to speak words because we needed to learn that actions speak louder than words. So, when I think about animals, I always think about unconditional love. And that's one of the gifts they're here to show us. So Petey doing his job, helping his friend and guiding that blind horse around and keeping that horse safe is just one of the many ways the animal kingdom works together to help one another out. And I feel like that reflects well and is always a lesson we can learn, yeah. This is very strange. I'm not going to lie. It's very strange doing the show and not having Janice here so that we can chat about things. Hopefully she's doing okay out there and is able to breathe a little bit and calm down and find her internet connection and join me very soon. Because I'm not going to lie, this is very, very, very different for me. All right, clipping right along. Let's go to our pathways to peace. We're going to get into that segment a little earlier. There's Jen. Hey, Jen, thanks for joining. Her comment is, and animals have feelings and emotions. That's a great reminder. Be like Petey. Yes, animals do have feelings and emotions. And, they're great healers as well, which is very interesting because we have a cat that lives here in this house. And when somebody is struggling or upset, he will tend to find you and sit in your lap and purr. And they say that purring is very, very healing. And having our cat Sylvester in my life has taught me that there she is.
Yay!
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
I think internet services in this area just died for a minute there.
All right, Savio, can we go back to let's go back to the meme too, because I want to hear Janice's take on it. Awesome. Okay, Janice, so the meme was, sometimes I feel like I should be contributing more to society. Then I remember fat bottom girls make the rock and world go round. And I know
Oh, I love that. Oh.
Yeah. And sure, a couple years ago, I would have been like, no, I can't share that. That's, I shouldn't do that. That's not right because I'm ashamed of having a fat bottom. And now I'm like, woo, let that fat bottom fly, baby.
I love the way that we're freer now than we used to be in a lot of ways. At least now that I found some peace, and probably because I've accepted myself more, but it's very freeing. That is a great meme.
Summed it up right there. Accepting ourselves for who we are.
Yeah, that's great.
Excellent. Oh, I'm so happy to see you.
I'm happy to be seen. A special shout out to the shark program in Greensboro, Vermont.
Awesome. All right. We do make the round, says Jennifer Clark. Amen, sister.
Even though I don't have a big butt, I got a small butt considered the rest of the size of my body. I still take that as something I do.
I love it. And Laura Turner says, gotta love what you got. Amen.
Yeah.
Now I know that's right. Okay, let's roll on into the good news. I did a terrible job of wrapping up your good news story, Janice. I apologize.
No apologies necessary.
The video was played.
Yes. It's just, this one got to me because the horse, he was actually used to be a trail horse, wonderful horse. They got him, and 3 years later, he started to have problems finding his way around. They got the donkey as a puppy, whatever donkeys are when they're young, and he immediately was drawn to the horse, and he literally makes his hoof sound so the horse follows it. He'll nudge him with his head, and if the horse doesn't come out, he goes back in and helps him out. It's really a nice story. I hope you enjoyed the video because you think of a donkey, a little stereotype, you think of them as probably a pain in the ass. And
Exactly.
And,
Luna needs to leave the barn. Petey is always there to be her guiding star. He just braids up a storm, and she follows his sound.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And he brays and he's got, I don't know, I guess all donkeys must sound like that. But yeah, it's what fun.
Yeah, and we'll post the full video on our Facebook page.
Oh, get a look at it.
See the full video.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right. And we had just gotten to rolling into Pathways of Peace. So it's perfect that you're here because Janice sent me this meme earlier this week and it's perfect. I mean, it matches the show perfectly. So if you want to take people that aren't watching, it's the shame spiral.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I have my eyes aren't that good. I'm going to see if I can make it bigger because on my laptop, I can't see it. Oh yeah. Hey, it's getting bigger. Yes, I can do that. Okay. So now when I hear shame, I used to think, oh, I'm embarrassed. But the shame that we're talking about is really much more intense. It's like this feeling of self-worth, of value, and it's very deep. So when you're talking, the shame spiral is an event will happen. It'll trigger you and you feel shamed or embarrassed, guilty or inadequate. That's one of my things. You feel like and it gets a little lower. Okay, so you have that happen, and that's bad enough. Then it gets a little worse. You feel like you can't do anything right and that you're a failure. Thoughts that everyone is judging you, upset with you, or dislikes you. So you actually end up making it true because your thoughts are in the same cycle, the spiral, I should say, that it makes it in your mind more and more true and more paralyzing sometimes. Then you gather evidence. That's what I'm saying. You gather evidence that all of your thoughts are true. Then the urge to quit, isolate, withdraw, or run away. Anxiety, depression, hopelessness. That's perfect. It says the shame. And that when you're at the bottom of that spiral, that is paralyzing. It could be, or that's when you turn into anger at everyone, explosive anger or depression, or it can turn to that. So that's the bottom of that. What can you do? And on the left side, we got talk about your feelings. One of the neatest things I found, Brene Brown is someone who I read now and love her. And she talks a lot about shame. And a lot of it, one of the things you can do when you're in that shame place is actually talk about it. Even though you want to, you think you need to hide it. It's amazing that if you actually say it, you say it out loud to somebody who's safe, it can really help you just, talk about it. Find a healthy emotional outlet. There you go. And have compassion for yourself. We're not perfect. You're not perfect. You don't have to be perfect. And you're in the place where you just need to be reminded of that as much as you can. On the right, work on your self-talk. Okay, so I am okay. I am okay. I'm not perfect. It's okay. Whatever it is, self-talk. It's good if you can come up with a line or a couple lines that you can just slip in your head. So when you do start getting in that spiral, that you can just keep saying, forgive your mistakes and find the root of the shame, which I think we'll probably end up getting to in the next part, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I love, Janice and I took a class together, Fearless Confidence. And I knew of Brene Brown's work prior to that, but our teacher is very passionate about her work. Mm-hmm. So we watched videos and TED Talks and things like that. So I got to go into her work a little deeper. And I mean, she has spent 2 decades at least studying shame and what it's all about, what it stems from, and you know, how you can shift from shameful to shameless and things like that. So this spiral is perfect. And I love the way, because, you know, yes, you have this event that triggers these feelings. And then right there, you get to have, with the awareness of what's going on, you have a choice. But that's something that we have to be told, because I feel like shame is one of those things where we learn from the people around us, whether we're to feel shame. You have the common phrases. I was thinking in preparation for the show, the common phrases. Well, you should be ashamed of yourself. You know better. And how frequently that's thrown around. And on an energetic level, shame is one of the lowest vibrational feelings because of exactly what Janice just explained in the spiral. Because once you engulf and embrace that shame, then the guilt, the inadequacy, you convince yourself that you're terrible and nobody likes you, everybody's against you. And when we start thinking that way, that's the message we send to the universe. This is what we believe. So the universe sends us experience after experience after experience to support feeling that way.
Yeah. We have selective attention, which is, I don't notice anything that's positive. Someone could say something wonderful to me, and it's like, whoosh.
Yes.
Someone says something that validates what I think, which is I am worthless, and oh yes, yes. So it's that selective attention.
And that's an excellent point, because we can get 50 kudos, way to go, high fives, great comments about how the show goes, and I'm kind of the same way. You get one that it doesn't even have to be terrible, but just to like, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Doesn't even take a comment sometimes. It's just a lack of a comment. Oh no.
Silence, exactly. Silence says a lot.
Yes.
That is so true. So when I looked at this, the beautiful shame spiral, I had some questions come up. So I thought Janice and I could have some fun.
Yeah.
Could have some fun. Some questions.
Yes.
So, how old were you when you first remember feeling shame?
I certainly didn't call it shame because I think that the stereotypical definition didn't apply. But I remember my mother died when I was 4, and my father remarried when I was 6. My stepmother was not necessarily a happy person. Well, she was not a happy person. And I remember one day she did something that made me feel terrible. And I went crying to my room. I want my mother. I want my mother. I want my mother. And I stopped. I said, Janice, you're not going to have your mother anymore. Bam. Oops. I don't know how loud that was to you, but it echoed in here. And that was the point where I started to say, okay, so I've got nobody. I'm worthless. I'm alone. I really think that was the first time. I mean, I wouldn't call it shame at the time, right, but it was that lowest feeling of alone, on my own, not worthy. I think that when I was trying to think of the answer to that question, that's the one that popped up.
And how old?
I was probably 6, 7.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
So to embrace that belief at the age of 6 or 7, and now being where you are and the work that you've done, you understand that every experience from that time forward was to support your feeling. Yeah. And it's interesting because, I do, you do so much work to try to get over different issues. And then, it's at a point you're like, what's past in the past. And there's times when you've got to say, you know what, that's your past. You got to move forward. You have power and control of the future. Let's move forward. Yes.
I did that for a while. But what I didn't understand is you don't have to live in it necessarily, but you are living in it sometimes when you don't realize it. Like when something happens and all of a sudden I'm feeling worthless, it's due to this story that maybe started when I was 6. So it's not that I should be still living in it, but I need to be aware that that is part of why I'm where I am now. And that when I get into that spiral of shame, to think that, okay, so that is about when I was a child, and validate it, that you had coping mechanisms, that's how you survived, okay. But that's when I was a child, okay, that's what's happening. Okay, so now I can be healthier in the future. So even though it's in the past and you need to let go in a way, but it does still affect you sometimes, and you need to be aware of that. So it's that line of not living in the past, but understanding how the past affects your current life. Yeah. And how you can be healthy with it. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely helped shape who we are. And that awareness it's key. It's key for everything. Yes.
So, I can remember, and I know I've talked about it on the show before, but when the doctor told my mother I had to be put on a diet, I was 8 or 9, 7 or 8, actually.
Wow.
And that was when I learned that I was to be ashamed of my body and how it looked. And just like with you, all I saw was everything that reinforced that shame.
Yeah.
It didn't matter that I was a good athlete. It didn't matter that I was active. It didn't matter that, I was out running the neighborhood, riding my bike, climbing trees and all that. Because all I saw from that point, I was fat before the doctor said it.
Yeah.
So what changed after I was become aware that and that's just it. To look back at pictures, everybody says you weren't even fat. I was like, but that was the standard then. And those were the words that they used.
Yeah.
So, I was super active and crazy outside and athletic and loved competition before I was told I was fat. And then after I was told I was fat, it was like all that didn't matter.
Yeah.
So,
It's interesting because, internally you were fine until the somebody
Exactly.
externally told you weren't, then you internalize it and then you validate it and you keep on going and it goes down into your core.
Exactly.
beliefs.
You had your stepmother that,
Yeah.
she to put baby in the corner,
Yeah.
shall we say.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Yeah. So it's very interesting to be where we are now and to be able to look back and say, oh, so that's where it started.
And to know, one thing I loved, I had a therapist who was great once, and well, a few times. But the point was, that you needed that, maybe you needed that protection then.
Mm-hmm.
But do you need it now? And is that real now? That was the question. She says, okay, that was true then. Is it true now?
Yes.
And just that question of keeping on asking, is it true now? No, it's not true now. I don't have that someone putting me down all the time. Is it true now? So it's interesting. Just asking that question to myself helped me move along that line.
Yes, it helps spiral.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite questions to, because that head can start going real quick. I can start heading down that spiral real quick, depending on what's going on. And just that question, stop, pause, and ask yourself, is this real in this moment?
Right.
And you know what? When it's come to shame, the answer has been, no, it's not real in this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And getting yourself to believe that and understand that is the journey for me anyway.
Yeah. And it's that desire, understanding that what we believe will then be validated through experience gives me that much more motivation to shift and rewire.
Yeah.
Telling myself it's not true. It's not true. And that's, awareness is the first, you nailed it. Where awareness is the first key.
Yes.
It's the first key. So I think this will be a great time for us to take a little commercial break, and then we'll be right back.
Thanks.
And we're back to be here now, the Peaceful Empowerment Work Show, where we're talking about moving from shameful to shameless. So I think one of the other questions we have is, what's been your biggest source of shame in your life? Has there been anything bigger than that moment when you were 6 or 7?
This bigger. I mean, I think that's part of my core being of shame, honestly. That certainly there have been other things that have happened, and they're more as you get older, the more the traditional what you think of as shame, like when I lost my job, I think one of the things that happened is I made it my value to my work that I could have value through work. And so anytime a work issues occurred, a big one, it's just devastating to me, just total shame. So that would be also what's happened. I had a couple of those for work. Family, it's interesting because when you talk about family and shame, it's tied to your core being again more than work is. So it gets twisted up into your own feelings of shame. So and you're living it, and you're trying to raise kids, and you see it pop up with kids, like especially with my granddaughter, because she has. I look at her and I think, oh, she has very deep shame. She's very similar to me, and I think sometimes I'll do something, and it's like, oh my gosh, I must have made her feel terrible. And then I get in that whole spiral because I know how I'd feel. So that's how shame manifests currently in my home life, is just ongoing doing things, especially like now to my granddaughter. It used to be to my daughter, and it used to be to my stepson, but now it's her that really triggered that. I feel the same way, and making her feel that way I used to feel. So it's tied into that for me.
Okay. So it leads to a question I have for you, that knowing what you know now, and knowing that spiral, and the tools you have to stop that spiral, have you been able to share any of those tools with your granddaughter?
I try. It's interesting because you could on the outside look at it and say, she's not hearing anything you're saying. Because it doesn't look like it affects her. But I like to think I'm planting the seeds, so when she is in situations where she gets older, she'll see it and she'll understand it. Heaven forbid if I try to tell her, when I was your age, I felt bad, and what now I find that if you can just step back, or if I tell her something like that, take a deep breath, she does the opposite. She gets more angry at me. So it doesn't work that well. But I do think that I've seen her talking to other people, and I've heard her talking to her friends and saying things that I've said to her.
Yes.
In version of it. So
yes. They are all listening.
It's wonderful, because even though I don't see it directly, I pray that my going through and talking to her about what I'm going through and how it relates to her, is in help. Because for her, on her trigger, because she has an attachment disorder, and so it has especially to do with a maternal figure. So I tend to be her trigger, and so I won't see it. But I watch her sometimes. I'm just filled with such pride when I see her talking to her. I can't even remember exactly, but the other day she was talking to a friend, and, well, you gotta. Oh, bless her. I'm so proud of her.
Yes. And remember, we always need to remember they're watching. We are the examples. So you doing the work that you're doing, the beautiful work that you've done. And we talked about this on the very first show you joined us, was, a year ago, you would have never said yes to doing the show with me. And here you are.
Yeah.
So she's watching your growth, whether she comments about it or says anything, she's watching you.
Yeah.
And that is the greatest gift we can give our children, is to work on our own healing.
Yeah.
Because you just said how generational this pattern is, and you're working to end that.
Absolutely.
And that's something you should be very proud of.
I know that my adult grown daughter, I certainly wasn't. I was still in the beginning of my healing process, let's say. And I see her now, and I see her very similar to what I used to be, in shutting down and blocking and going and looking for external. And, I hope, and she's still a healthy, wonderful woman, but I hope that now, where I am now, that I will be able to do better in that way for her. I of course, feel guilty, and that I can't do more in terms of physically and actively with her, but I'll hopefully give her some skills.
Yeah, they're watching. I mean, all those things that you just said, and that the difficult. It's difficult to watch our kids suffer the way we suffered. And of course, we want to swoop in and fix it. And this is where, I just keep hearing the reminder. The work we're doing on ourselves is helping to lay the foundation for them. Because when we heal the patterns within ourselves, we heal the patterns for all that came before us and all that come after. So that's why it's so important to stay focused on us.
Yeah.
Whereas we have been taught focusing on yourself is selfish, but no. In order for us to show up and be all that we can be, we have to do our own healing. Nobody's going to come and save us. We have to.
The first time I heard that, I was thinking, oh, that's a nice theory.
And now you're seeing it unfold.
Yeah. And even with my oldest daughter, it's that I'm taking time to look at myself and care about myself and put myself first, which she doesn't do. And, I can't make her take care of herself. I can encourage her and I can tell her that. And maybe she will one day, but like you said, the best I can do is be a model for her and showing that, it's okay to look at me. And we had a situation, with a step granddaughter the other day. It could have been heartbreaking, but my daughter's like, oh my gosh, that must be awful. How could that happen? And I'm like, no, I mean, that's where she is. And that's where their pattern is, how I'm talking now. It's the pattern. And, it is sad, but, I wasn't devastated. So it was nice to see that and to be able to model a different perspective.
Yes. And I know for both of us, because we've been in class together for quite some time now, I know for both of us that being able to identify when we're in fight or flight is something that we've been able to model for our families. So they're becoming more aware of, and it was funny because I know for me in the beginning, I was more aware of the limited amount of time I wasn't in fight or flight, because that felt better than where I was. And then all of a sudden it's do the work to get out of fight or flight.
Yeah. I want to, mine's my shutdown. I freeze. And it's just comfortable. And yet I'll do something. I'll have a good, I'll think about it afterwards, but I'll have a good morning and I'll be in the kitchen and actually be doing, I don't know, dishes, who cares what, but I'm being present. And I sit there and I'll stop and I'll say, even this is nice.
Yes.
I'm not doing dishes isn't fun, but I'm present and it's okay to be me right now. And being able to do that, oh, what a gift. And I just, I'm not perfect at all. And I just work to have more of those moments now. Yep. That's the goal.
Yes. It was when I was like, oh, I want more of that, is when I really opened up and was willing to look at my shit. And shame was a big one that for the longest time, I didn't believe that I carried shame. Even when, before I started this healing journey, if anybody was to say you carried shame, I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? There's no shame in my game.
And it's a word. It's a word, shame, and it's got its own. People, think of it meaning it differently. And the shame we're talking about is that if you look at the spiral, it's at the bottom. Well, all of it gets somewhat as you go down, but the epitome is down at the bottom where you're, fight or flight, freeze, and anger, whatever that is that happens to you.
Excellent. So the next question, what have you done to help shift the shameful to shameless in your life? Yeah. And we have a quote here from Brene Brown. What we don't need in the midst of struggle is shame for being human. We're all human. We had a show last week about perfectionism. There's no perfect. There's no perfect. It's finding the joy in being perfectly imperfect and understanding that this is a journey. We're here to learn, grow, and evolve.
I just so easily, it was a coping, so it was a coping mechanism for me as a child to just sit in front of the TV. That I shut down in front of the TV. That was one of my biggest coping mechanisms. So even as I'm becoming aware of it now, that's still one of my coping mechanisms. And I still go through that. Oh, look at you. You're sitting in front of TV and not being productive. You're not doing things. You're not, taking care of things. And I beat myself up for it. And one of the things that Judy, you keep on telling me is, oh no, it just went right through my brain because it's a touchy one for me. But it's okay. This is what you say. Okay, you need that today.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you give yourself permission and be okay with it then? And there's something about doing that. Saying, I had a rough week last week. I'm going to take Monday. Monday, just sat in front of the boob tube.
Yep.
And the trick is to not just shut down, but to say, you know what, it's okay. And it's okay. It's a coping mechanism. Great. Then I can get out of it.
Yes.
Like the next day, maybe I'll do a little bit, but I'll do this first. But the giving myself permission, which is one of the things you said, helped me so much, because I go right back in the spiral because I am shut down. See what you're doing. And how do I stop that?
Yeah.
I still want to shut down. How do I stop it?
But it's important for you to understand there's a difference between shutting down like you used to. You used to shut down and just go numb.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a difference between you needing a day of rest. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. There is a big difference between choosing to numb out and choosing rest.
Yeah.
And you cannot truly rest if you're sitting on the couch watching the boob tube, but then beating the shit out of yourself for doing it. That's not rest.
Yeah.
That's why, when we talk about giving permission, it's so important for you to understand, okay, this is what I need now.
Yeah.
For whatever, whatever happened. And it can be exciting things happening too, not just, stressful things.
Yeah.
A big weekend with a family wedding or big celebration with graduation and things like that. And Jen always says, I'm all peopled out. I need some time.
Yeah.
And it's consciously making the choice to spend your day relaxing, doing something that you can truly relax at.
Yeah.
And
now it's turned into sitting in front of the boob tube and beating myself up and keeping in this shame cycle, spiral, where it's by saying it's okay. Give yourself a day, give yourself a week, whatever, to make me feel like I'm okay. I need to say that it's okay that I do that. And then that's my way of being able to get out of it.
Yes.
Now.
And what I'm hearing is, when we choose to sit and watch things, we want to be very conscious of what we're watching as well. Because if we do tend to hit that top of that spiral, and what is going to keep that spiral going down is watching things that are aggressive or have all of getting as shitty people in it. You want to watch things that are going to help you to laugh, help you feel better, keep you in a good space.
Yeah.
I used to be one that would watch hours and hours of Law and Order, and I can't even hear the dum dum anymore and be like, oh, let me see. Yeah. I was one that used to sit and watch it for hours, and now the violence, I can't handle violence and really loud noise and things like that. So it's very interesting to me to pay attention to what I'm drawn to. I'm drawn to silly sitcom, where I can laugh, and feel good movies and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a pattern to that too. So that's a really good thing to remember for me. What I watch and when I watch it. Yeah.
Pay attention to what you're watching, because if you're hitting the tip of that spiral, what you watch is going to influence how deep you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Thank you.
No problem. So as far as a lot of the tools that I used, is identifying the shame. Well, that's a shameful thought. Why am I feeling that?
Yeah.
Asking those questions, and the pause. We've talked about numerous times how powerful the pause is, because in that pause is where you can ask, is this true? Is this real to this experience?
Yeah.
What am I to learn here? Do I believe that? And just that pause and asking those questions, like Janice said, helps to bring you present to the now.
Yeah.
And in that, then you can make choices. You're not being dictated and ruled by your subconscious, because those memories are in your subconscious thought.
Yeah.
You know,
And
and
as
then
much,
that's on autopilot.
right. And as much as you think the past is the past, just still be aware of how it may affect your current, so you can really leave it in the past as you get healthier, and that those deep-seated triggers they're not so triggering anymore, and then you can be in a healthier place.
Exactly. And repetition helps to rewire. So the more you use that pause and bringing yourself present, the more automatic it becomes too.
Even just my saying, yeah, I sit in front of the boob tube all day. I'm telling you that I do that. That's my big shame. That's one of my big shames. And saying it and sharing it. Hey, yeah, I do. I'm telling you again, I do. I sit in front of the boob tube all day sometimes. It's freeing.
We're waiting for freak flags.
So just sharing it is another thing that helps me so much.
Yes.
And you've helped me so much.
It takes the power out of it. Yeah. It takes the power out of it. You know, the other meme is, we cannot shame ourselves into change. We can only love ourselves into evolution. Yeah. And that is so true. So true. So, you know, I actually do have a brief intuitive message for today. Sometimes they come with a lot of words and sometimes they don't. So my intuitive message for you today: when we look at every experience as an opportunity to learn, there is no finger pointing or fault to be dispersed or assigned. So choose love over fear and allow the shame to disappear. Love yourself enough to look for the lesson, because there's a lesson in every experience.
Life's a journey.
Absolutely.
You got to learn from it. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, and blaming is shaming. So whether you're blaming somebody else or you're blaming yourself, remember that blaming is shaming. So, yeah, I think that's my parting thought for shame. Do you have anything to wrap up shame before you do your donation spiel?
One of the, it was a Brene Brown thing that came and left because that intuitive message was so good. So now I've lost it. But
oh, the one, yes, Brene Brown, you said it. One thing that really hit me, the first video that Karen had us watch, was guilt is doing something wrong. Shame is being told you're wrong. You are wrong. Like you, the person that you are, is wrong. Yeah. Guilt is doing something wrong. Shame is you are wrong.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's a difference.
Thank you. This has been a very powerful topic for me because it's one of my core things I work on. So thanks so much for being here and letting us share. And my message for today, I don't have an intuitive one. I've got a money one. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Your donations are tax deductible. We hope that if you're able to, you can make a donation. We have a donation button on our website. Our website is peacefulempowermentworks.com.
.org.
Oh, that's wrong in the thing. Heaven forbid I should look at it. .org. And on the top of the screen, it says donate. And also at the very bottom of our first page is the donate button. Please go ahead, do it. If you donate $25 or at least $25, I will create you, well, it's going to look like mine, but a t-shirt. And $50 or more, we'll do a sweatshirt. Just a gift from me. And thank you. If we have some expenses, we do this for free. We love it, but any donations are appreciated, and you can write it off on your taxes.
Yes, and you want to email Janice at peacefulempowermentworks@gmail.com, and she'll get everything with your size and what you're looking for.
Right, and you've got to contact me because we don't have a system that I get a straight message. So
yes. So, Janice, I am so grateful that you were able to find a place for internet.
Yes. I am grateful to be here
Thank you
and
for
being with you and sharing this. Thanks.
thank you
Thanks,
so much.
everybody.
And thank everybody else for choosing to be here now. And next week will be a rerun because it's 4th of July. But we will be back on July 11th with a special guest.
We're all in this together. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Don't forget you're awesome. Thank you, Janice.
Thanks.